You're listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by home cooks Erin Walker and Heather Dyer.
Join us as we walk you through our experience with a new recipe, successes and fails. Let's all get inspired, cook better, and eat great food.
This is the February of Februaries, Heather. I need 2 cookies. One is not enough. Hi there. Hello. Welcome to today's episode of Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by your favorite hosts, Heather Dyer and Erin Walker.
Hello there. I wonder if we are anybody's favorite hosts.
You're my favorite host.
And you can be my favorite host.
Oh, well, it's always fun to be back here. And I've got a hankering for something sweet. I like a good sweet treat. And
Me too.
I don't know, if you're going to go and grab something as a baked good, like at a cafe or at like a little restaurant or a store, what are you going for when you do that, Heather?
I think if I had the choice, my first choice would be pie and then probably cookie. I think cake is usually kind of down the list for me. So I'm going to put pie and cookies up higher on the list.
What about pastry? Where does pastry live in your land of delights?
I think it depends on the pastry. Oh, I also like a good steamed bun with like red bean paste in it. So I don't know. I'm usually, if it's there and it's sweet, I'm going to at least give it a try.
As long as there's sugar involved, sign me up, right? Yeah, I like a lot of different sweet treats. I love a good cinnamon bun.
Yes.
With icing. No raisins.
No?
No raisins. Ah,
I like a raisin.
Okay.
with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I have a feeling you're not making cinnamon buns, so it doesn't matter our feelings on raisins at the moment.
No, but I thought I'd just throw that out there because some people are for and against, and clearly we have both sides of that spectrum represented here. You're welcome. One of my favorite things to get when I'm out is a croissant that has almond paste in it, and then the toasted almonds on top, and like a little drizzle of chocolate and some powdered sugar. Have you ever had that before? I think it's got a name, but I have no idea what it is.
No, I don't think I have, but it sounds fancy.
This
is not just your standard coffee shop pastry. This is like...
Well, this is like over, like you can grab it sometimes at Lena's. They've got it over there. Trying to think. Every once in a while you see like the almond croissants when you're at like a little pastry shop, and almond I think is my favorite sweet flavor, or it's like my default sweet flavor. I loved when we put almond in whipped cream and made that almond scented whipped cream. That was like revolutionary to me. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to eat whipped cream with almond flavor forever and ever. I didn't know you could do that. So I came across, while I was snooping on Instagram, a couple of different almond cookies that I want to make. And one is called an almond croissant cookie.
It's speaking your language. It was made for you.
It was made for me. Somebody knew I needed this in my life. And I've never made a stuffed cookie before. And this has an almond paste stuffed inside of a cookie, and then you bake it. And it is supposed to be a thick and chewy cookie with the sweet almond filling in the middle. And yep, I'm feeling it. I need it in my life. I'm going.
Nice. I'm wondering, where does the croissant aspect come into it?
I'm hoping it's just because there's a fuck ton of butter in it.
Nice. That would make sense, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 12 large cookies, and it's got a cup of butter in it. So, yep.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's where the pastry croissant part comes in. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how we go about making the dough and rolling it all out. I am really looking forward to this treat. I need something sweet. It's February. February is the longest month of the year. Therefore, time for a sweet treat. And so these sound decadent and wonderful and total guilty pleasure. So I thought I'd also maybe make a more balanced representation of an almond cookie. And I also came across something called a mandorlini, and it's like a small cookie ball that's got marzipan baked into the dough of the ball, and then it's got some toasted almonds on top, and it's got powdered sugar again, kind of the classic combo. And those sound like they'll be like the perfect bite size, like, like the 2-bite or the 1-bite brownies or whatever you get. It's like a little 1-bite almond cookie, because it kind of makes me think that these other ones I might want to serve like a pie if there's only 12 of them and they're these big honkin' cookies. Like,
how big do you think they are?
I have no idea, but it's a lot.
Your hands, for anyone listening, Erin's hands are like the size of her head. Like,
no, right?
Whoa.
So they seem large and a lot. So I'm gonna go for something that's maybe a little more dainty.
So you're making
side.
You're making 2 cookies.
Yes, I really need the sweets. I am
sure do.
This is the February of Februaries, Heather. I need 2 cookies. One is not enough.
The February of Februaries. I think that's true.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's middle age. Maybe it's teenage children. Maybe it's the state of the world. But we need 2 cookies, damn it.
Yes. Well, I certainly am not going to say no to that.
See? That's why you're my favorite host.
Nobody would. Nobody would come on a cooking show and be like, 2 cookies is too much for me. I think you better just make 1.
You are not our people.
No. If that's how you feel about it, you best just turn us off right now.
So do you have any hot tips for me making a stuffed cookie, since you have made them before when you made the apple butter stuffed cookies?
That's right. Those were good. So that was like a spiced cookie with apple butter in the middle and caramel. Remember?
That's right. Caramel was in there too.
So this came about after we had the Baking Scraps podcast as guests on our show. And we got talking about this, and they gave me tips on making a stuffed cookie. For the filling was to freeze or chill it in advance.
Okay.
So that it's already scooped into its little portion, and it's easier to put onto the cookie and then kind of wrap it up in the dough without it kind of oozing all over the place.
Okay.
So those are my tips. I hope it works for what you're doing.
I think that's good advice. All right. Well, time is a-wasting. Time to bake the cookies.
I can't wait. Hey listener, have you visited our website? You'll find our entire catalog of episodes. Can you believe there are more than 170 of them, including the Speakeasy Cocktail series and almost all of our recipes?
It's easy to find. Just type in www.threekitchenspodcast.com or check the show notes for a link. Now, let's get back to the show. I made all the almond cookies, and I have since eaten all the almond cookies, not by myself. Don't let this mislead you.
I put back quite a few myself.
Good. I'm really glad I went after both of these cookies. They were really easy to do, super basic cookie dough making. I'll talk about the mandorlinis first. And so those are the little balls, and they had almond flour, powdered sugar, all-purpose flour, baking powder, and a bit of lemon zest. And then your wet ingredients were a full slab of marzipan, which I bought 2 slabs of that stuff a while back. So this used up an entire slab, and I was like, well, isn't that convenient? So that was great. So the marzipan, 1 egg white, a tablespoon of milk, and then some almond extract. You could use amaretto in there, which is an almond liqueur. Doesn't live in my house, and I'm not going to buy a whole bunch just so I can put a tablespoon into my cookies. But I think that'd be delicious if you had it in your cupboard. And so blend all your wet ingredients together, add in your dry ingredients, scoop it out with a cookie scoop, roll those little balls in some almonds, place them on a baking sheet, and they bake for somewhere between 12 and 15 minutes. And yum. These were so easy to make. I whipped up this recipe in no time. It was so quick. And the texture of these with the little like crunch of the sliced almonds on the surface and then the chewiness in the middle. Oh, I loved these.
Me too. These are my favorite of the 2. I'll say it right up top. I love the texture. Like they're
Yeah.
chewy, like soft and chewy, almost like not like a cookie, almost like I don't even know
Yeah.
exactly.
I don't
Like a,
know how to
somewhere between a
describe it.
cookie and a blondie or like something similar, right? Like
Yeah.
they were
Very
so good.
chewy.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah. And I think they are the everyday easy to make cookie that you can just the batch didn't make a whole bunch. It was, let me do some quick, maybe 40 cookies.
Okay.
So it was kind of a smaller batch. And just because they're kind of tiny, you just want to like pop them all in
Yeah.
your mouth constantly. But
Yes. It's like it requires a little bit of restraint to make it a 2-bite cookie because you just want to pop the whole thing at
two
once.
bites,
I
meh.
tried to like bite half just to make it last a little longer. Oh, I love these. These are delicious and they keep well, like, not that they lasted all that long, but they don't get like dried out or anything. They keep their nice,
Uh-huh.
chewy, moist texture. Yummy.
Yeah. I just put them in a tin and had like a little bit of wax paper wrapping them in, and they just sat on my counter for, they may have lasted 3 days, but they were good from beginning to end. Oh,
Winner, winner.
yay. These were the ones that I saw first, and I was like, I want that marzipan in there.
I've never bought marzipan ever.
You
It's
can
not
buy
something
it.
even on my radar. So now I want to go buy it just so I can make these
You
cookies.
want to buy it. You have to buy it.
Now I do.
And
Thanks
now
so
you
much.
know that one recipe is just one block of that. And they come in 200-gram packages at Edelweiss. So you're
Okay.
welcome.
I will be going to get some.
Next time you're up there, you know where to find it.
Hmm.
All right. My second was the almond croissant cookies, which were these big, like cafe style cookies, is what I want to say, because they were like, I don't know, pretty 4-inch round,
Yeah,
maybe
they were big.
a little bit more. They were huge. They were like a plate of cookie. And so they had the filling that I made up first, and that was almond flour, sugar, egg, butter, vanilla, and almond extract. So you will notice that these ones do not use any marzipan. So disappointment number one.
That's a point against them
I was
this
like,
in
oh,
this
there's no
episode.
marzipan. As I started making this, I was like, oh, there's no marzipan in these. How is that legal? Anyway, so that
Illegal.
filling, it's illegal. That filling went into the fridge because it was very soft and you want to be able to scoop it and put it into little balls between your cookie dough. So it's easier to handle after you have refrigerated it for, I'm going to say like 30 minutes. So made up the filling, popped it in the fridge, started working on the cookie dough. Cookie dough was a bunch of butter and a bunch of sugar blended together. Then you had one whole egg, one egg yolk, more almond extract again, and vanilla extract. So once you've got that nice, smooth, wet paste, you're going to add your dry ingredients of baking soda, salt, flour, and almond flour. These are a very buttery batter. And to assemble these guys, you scoop out an ice cream scoop size of dough for the cookie, and you split it in two, and you kind of make two circles with that, two little pads. And then you take a little cookie scoop of your filling and put it on top of one of those circles, put the other circle of cookie dough on top. And then I just kind of pressed it between my hands to flatten it and then sealed around the edges so my filling wouldn't bubble out. And then just kind of pressed it into this cookie between my hands. Flop it down in some of those sliced almonds again. And then on your cookie sheet, 6 to a cookie sheet is all that will fit because
Mhm.
these spread out and get really big. The cooking time recommended was 20 minutes at 350. I think they could have been in the oven a little less long. I think for me, they cooked a little bit too much. They were crisp on the edges and like the filling almost completely incorporated into the dough. You almost couldn't see it in the middle. They were the best fresh out of the oven. A day later, they weren't as good. My kids got around that by popping them in the microwave that we now have.
You do?
My kid bought a microwave when we went to Goodwill.
That's so funny.
We went Goodwill shopping and he tears off and goes and gets a shopping cart. And I'm like, oh boy, what's this going to be? You know which one this is.
I can imagine.
He comes around the corner 5 minutes later with a microwave for $25 in his shopping cart.
I'm surprised he didn't buy it to take it apart and see what's inside.
If the microwave didn't work, that would, because we were like, what if it doesn't work? That was his plan. Well, I'll make it work.
Okay. That tracks.
That tracks. So my kids were microwaving these before eating them to soften them up again. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's the key.
Okay, I should have done that. I didn't really
think about it. And honestly, I had them for breakfast, I don't know, however many days in a row that I could. And I kind of have a thing against microwaves.
I know. That's why
So
I was surprised when you said you have one. I was like,
it lives in the basement and sits on top of the freezer because I was like, that's not in my kitchen.
Well, you also don't have room for another thing in your kitchen.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, I ain't got no counter space for this. So it lives on top of a freezer in our basement and so far has been used for cookies and microwave popcorn.
You know what? That's not a bad reason to have a microwave in the basement. We have a spare microwave in our basement as well, but it just sits there with dust on. It's in our laundry room on the countertop. Yeah.
Anyway, enough about microwaves.
That's cute.
These cookies.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to say, the claim, like putting croissant in the title of this, is a big misleading claim. Like, I get lots of butter, but it does not have the same
no flakiness.
No. There's nothing croissant-like here. That's a strange thing that they called it that.
We won't be putting that in our title.
Okay, good. It makes you think it's going to be something more pastry-like, and it really wasn't. It was a cookie, for sure.
Yeah. It was just a really big bake shop cookie. And they were time consuming, as you would expect to make a stuffed cookie, because you got to pat out the dough. You got to get your filling. You got to put it in there. You got to carefully, and then each tray only 6 fit, and then you're baking them for 20 minutes. I mean, this was a chunk of time. And while I made these, I was listening to another Barbara Kingsolver book called Unsheltered, which was a gooder. So I happily spent a bunch of time in my kitchen, baking the cookies, making the cookies, listening to my book. But these are by no means like a cookie that I'm going to make frequently, right? Like they're like a one-time cookie that you make maybe for, I don't know, a special occasion type thing.
I feel like that's the case with stuffed cookies. It's like those ones that we talked about earlier that I made with the apple butter in the middle. A lot of work, especially since I'd made apple butter as well.
Yes.
A lot of work for something that it's like, is there something in the middle? Kind of hard to see it. I feel like there probably are stuffed cookies where you break it open and you can definitely see and taste a filling.
Yes.
The ones I made, not so much. The ones you've made, not really.
Not so much.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. I'm really glad I made both because, if you want that big bake shop cookie and you want to spend the time doing it, and I think watch that cook time, maybe get a softer cookie out of it, and maybe the filling wouldn't disappear so much if it was a shorter bake. I was a little bit unsure about the doneness. I probably left it in for the full 20 minutes. Could have gone maybe more like 16, 18 maybe.
I wonder what these would have been like if you just didn't fill them. Like what? Because the filling kind of went into the cookie. I wonder what that gave the flavor.
Filling made the cookie softer.
Okay. And probably lended to the flavor as well.
And probably was the flavor as well because it had the almond flour in it. But again, no marzipan. Come on. So I'm going to make these mandorlinis all the time.
I have amaretto that I rarely use for the odd cocktail or something.
Ta-da.
So I am happy to share some of that with you. It just in the cupboard, big bottle of it. So it was probably from the speakeasy days, from something we concocted way back when.
Sounds about right.
I thought of that too when I tasted the little ones. I thought, amaretto would be, because it's just it's almond, but it's a slightly different flavor.
And those mandorlinis weren't as sweet either. And I think that the flavor that the alcohol has would really lend to the flavor in those cookies. They were a much more complex, entertaining flavor Whereas I felt these other ones were just like sweet and cookie-like, but nothing like new or exciting.
It's the marzipan. It's that
You
marzipan.
gotta have the marzipan.
Obviously, you do.
Yeah, that's my verdict on 2 cookies, but honestly, just like make all the cookies and enjoy them.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Happy second
obviously.
spring.
Did you know that today, as we are recording, today's Groundhog Day, and Balzac Billy, our local groundhog, predicted early spring, and so did the one in Ontario that's a Willie.
Wyerton Willie?
Wyerton Willie and Balzac Billy. I was like, on the way to school, we heard it on the radio, and then we were laughing like, why are all groundhogs named William? What's the deal? Anyway.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. I never made that connection.
Welcome, spring. It was really funny.
And now for the fine print. Links to recipes and other things we talked about in this episode can be found in the show notes or on our website, www.threekitchenspodcast.com. Come say hello on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and TikTok. We'd love to connect. And if you enjoy the show, pass it on. Word of mouth is the #1 way people learn about new podcasts. Thank you so much for listening.
And I'm like waking up and immediately going, oh no, I forgot like 3 things on my list for today.
Dear.
Yeah.